Peter Taylor, the Lazy Project Manager, talks social project management for ProjectManagement.com, powered by PMI.
Hi there, my name is Peter Taylor, but you may know me through my alter ego, the author of The Lazy Project Manager. But today I'm not talking about lazy project management, I want to talk to you about social project management. This is an emerging and evolving world, and through this series of videos we will together explore this world, this exciting world, and what opportunities it can bring us as project managers. But there is a challenge. We have to find out a way of balancing the social collaborative world with the need for centralized control and governance in this very project driven world. So join me and explore the world of the social project manager. Welcome back to episode 2. Delighted you could join me again. In this episode, the second episode in a series of 12, we're going to explore social collaboration, communication, and look at the future of social project management. Now, as I mentioned before, the book, The Social Project Manager, which is what this series is based on, I reached out for advice and guidance from a number of people. You know, the area of social project management isn't particularly well documented at the moment, and so I wanted to find, if you like, experts out there in the field who could contribute ideas, thoughts, etc. And I did that primarily through connecting to a whole bunch of social project management tool vendors, suppliers, developers, etc. So we're going to hear from them throughout this series, and we're going to start particularly, or start in this episode, with some thoughts from Eric Morgan, who's the CEO at Workfront, and we will continue, as I said, throughout the series hearing from other people. So, you know, from my point of view, this is no specific recommendation for technology, but just an awareness of some of the major players out there in the marketplace. And you know, I mentioned in the first episode about the fact this is the social project management tool arena is a developing one as far as I'm concerned. It's emerging into the marketplace. We have the more traditional project portfolio management tools, you know, we all know, love, not love, etc., these particular tools, but there is an emerging market and a kind of consolidation taking place. We're seeing some of that already, and so I'm delighted to have these contributions from these people who are exploring this particular world of social project management. Social collaboration in a workplace is changing at a frantic pace, and the definition of social communication is changing right alongside it. So says Eric Morgan, the CEO of Workfront. He continues, workers of the past viewed collaboration and social project management as the increase of collaboration with team members, which results in more frequent meetings, more ad hoc conversations in the hallway, and an influx in email to read in the inbox, all of which means everyone needs updating on everything. Today, many organisations are stuck in the same painful rut of the past. Workers are spending 25 to 35 hours per week just preparing information and engaging in collaboration with others. That's an incredible amount of time to spend communicating and being social. The pressure for increased collaboration results in poor execution and less time to do actual work. So, you know, the challenge from Eric is, you know, are we at a point where, you know, project management is facing a little bit of a challenge? Is it to a point of where it's being, you know, potentially broken, you know, or are we in a period of chaos and transformation? So there's an interesting thought. As one example to follow that up, you know, I worked with a group of people recently, and they were knowledge workers, and they explained the frustration of their existence right now because they produce reports on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly. You know, we all do that inside organisations, and the knowledge workers know how much effort it is to put those reports together. You know, there are always, you know, it doesn't matter how sophisticated the underlying enterprise technology and tools that are in place inside an organisation, there are always disparate databases, sources of information, and the knowledge workers know the challenges of putting this together, how much effort it takes to produce this one report. They know, you know, if they were honest, they'd know which components of that report were accurate, less accurate, perhaps even inaccurate, and in some cases plainly made up. Let's be very honest about this. But those reports are put together. They take a lot of time, a lot of effort, but they arrive on the executive's desk 5 p.m. on a Monday on a regular basis, for example. And so there's frustration about the amount of effort it takes to put those reports together. And yet from the executive's point of view, the executives are unaware in most cases of the effort. They just see this report turn up and they use it for whatever purpose they want that report for. So there's this kind of build-up of frustration inside an organisation about this level of data, this accuracy, and the way this is being used and communicated. As one example, I acknowledge that this is less than scientific, but I do feel it's representative of many organisations. During one workshop with 24 attendees from 17 different companies, 11 of those companies represented had adopted social tools to aid their workers. That's 65%. And none had offered any training or guidance to how to use these tools beyond basic functionality. Representatives from a further 4 companies had adopted tools that they used outside of work for work-based social communication, that's 24%, with the kind of tacit support of their organisations. But again, with no guidance of what to use and how to behave on these social platforms within the working environment. And all company representatives confirmed that where such social tools were in place, officially or unofficially, all other forms of communication continued. All other forms of communication continued as before. And therefore this new platform for connection and collaboration was an addition to the existing communication channels and expectations. This is an interesting contradiction occurring in it. On one hand, people are rapidly, and this means all generations, rapidly adopting the new social tools in their personal lives as a qualitative enhancement, and yet on the other hand they are in some cases using them in their working lives to interrupt productivity rather than enhancing such productivity. This is clearly contrary to the real value of the social tools, and bizarre in that it's not a matter of not knowing how to use the tools, since you know what, in our personal world this has already been addressed, and in fact most tools are very simple to use, hence their rate of adoption. That's the whole point of them. But more a matter of why and where and when to use them at work. You know, we live and work in a time when at least 4 generations, with a 5th on the way, are potentially in the workplace at the same time, and this brings both opportunity and challenge that we should benefit from. But each generation is schooled in certain means of communications, different means of communications. The new social tools could well be the level playing field that aligns these multi-generations. What do you think? From a perspective of the social tools inside an organisation, there's pressure to communicate more and more, and pressure to use these tools. And organisations invest in whatever is the new hot tool at the moment. I've seen it in many organisations using a number of these tools, and I'm not going to mention them, but you know, they're all good if they are all used in the correct way. But it's kind of creating this pressure to use it. Here's the new latest thing, it's going to be fantastic, we're all going to communicate and collaborate, it's going to be a wonderful new world. Oh, by the way, we still want absolutely everything you did beforehand. And in fact, many organisations don't offer any particular guidance or help in this area. And this is a fascinating cause of contrast, really, because you know, if you think about your use of the tools out there, you know, Facebook, you know, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever it may be, who taught you to use any of these tools? You know, it's not really. It's through a combination of it's self-explanatory and the occasional tip, or you know, observing other people using a particular feature you hadn't used beforehand. So on that hand, it's very simple. But the reality is how to use this inside the workplace is perhaps not so simple. And yet, you know, as I said, it's easy to use, but understanding the use is, I feel, is the current challenging dilemma inside the organisations right now, when it comes to social media and, you know, project management related social tools. So where does that leave us? It leaves us in a position where, you know, workers are becoming more and more social. I think that's generally true. They're becoming social at home, and they're keen, and their organisations are keen sometimes to be more social at work. So Facebook, Twitter, Skype, these all offer great new ways of communicating with their team, their peers, their colleagues, etc. Put on the background of the future of project management, which I believe is going to be more global, more remote, virtual in its structure, and with a desire to work on projects 24/7, around the clock, constantly. You know, there is no stopping to a project anymore. It's not 9 to 5. Has it ever been 9 to 5? But the point is, if you've got resources around the world, the project is progressing constantly throughout the 24-hour time. Now, add to that a move to a far more collaborative and social workplace, then I think that brings us to a point of what the background to project management and social project management in the future could be. On top of which, of course, there is a significant move towards all employees being more and more remote based. I mean, in 1997 in the US there was something like 9 million workers who were allowed or had the permission to work at home, and typically worked at home for maybe one day of the week. In 2010 that had risen to 13 million, and it's increasing, it's accelerating, that ability to work at home. Citrix Workplace did a survey in 2012, and they identified with global companies, global organisations, that 24% of those organisations actively encouraged their workers to work remotely, work from home, work from their client sites, or wherever it may be, because on one hand it's a very productive way of working. On the second hand, obviously, office space is a costly investment for an organisation, and if that office space is mostly empty because the workers are out anyway, then why not create this infrastructure to support remote working? So all of this brings us to a very interesting point. We know as project managers we are leading change. Projects are about change, they're delivering change inside organisations. So by doing that, the organisation itself is undergoing a degree of change as well. So there we have it. So we now have individual project change, driving change inside an organisation. At the same time, I mean that's hard enough, but at the same time we are seeing the whole means of us delivering as project managers that change on a path to change. Change through the social tools, etc. It's a difficult world. Project management has always been challenging, but as we go through this period of transformation, this period of movement from a period of chaos perhaps, or where some people consider that project management is currently broken, we're on the road towards social project management, but there's a lot of change going on that we have to deal with. In the next episode, the challenge of moving to social project management.